they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me keep on running toes, they gon' take them. Used to lose, built to win, applied myself, I felt it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win, apply myself.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back for another episode. Now, last night we went 1-1, making my tournament record 2-2. Texas absolutely blew the game, and I went a perfect 9-0 in the NIT last night. Not one pick wrong. Currently 14-2 in the NIT. My only two losses being Georgia Tech, who got absolutely boat raced by Jacksonville State, and dang, I can't even remember the other loss. I know I got another one. It's gonna come to me eventually. But yeah, I have only two losses in the NIT. The round of 16 is set for the NIT. That will start Saturday. I will be here Saturday to give you both round of 32 for the NCAA tournament and the round of 16 for the NIT. But before we talk about the round of 64 for today, I like that you like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the channel, helps the network. That was my channel, CTC, by way of the Refuse to Lose Network. Also, we got the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave every Tuesday and Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern to about 8:30ish. Unfazed featuring Joe and AJ from 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. We have BWT, Baseball with Teddy. The Tokyo series is now ended. Dodgers 1-2-0. I'm pretty sure Teddy's going to come out and talk about that soon. My boy Otani hit a bomb as soon as I logged off yesterday morning to get ready for work. So shout out my boy Otani. We have FFC, Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Offseason is here. He will be giving you offseason talks. We have In the Red Corner featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo. Boxing episode every other Sunday, 7 o'clock, so make sure you check them out. We have Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sports. Hey, shout out my boy Dave, man. He be paying for my Chipotle after the Pistons beat the Heat last night. So shout out my boy Dave. And then we have RBO, Real Ballers Only, featuring Vaughn. NBA content, playoffs around the corner. The race is heating up for the play-in. So make sure y'all check him out for that stuff as we head to the postseason. But it's all the shows we have on the network. Like, comment, share, subscribe to those shows as well. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. So let's get right into the round of 64. And we start off with an 8-9 matchup. We start off with Creighton versus Louisville, 12-15 at CBS. Side note, if you're on R2L right now, if you're in the Refuse to Lose chat, which means you have to be a superstar member, and you listening, brackets locked, 12:15 Eastern, 11:15 Central. So you have 5 hours and 10 minutes to make your selections. Or double check your brackets. I know I'm gonna double check my bracket as soon as I get to work. So make sure y'all do that. But let's get into it. Oh, one more thing before I start. My record last year in the NIT was 15-13. I'm already 14-2, so I'm looking good, man. Just like last year, my round of 64 record was 1-3. This year we went 2-2. Should have been 3-1. I still can't get over how Texas, Trey Johnson, and them blew that lead. Also ruined the parlay of mine. That was the only pick I had wrong on the parlay. I took Texas plus 2.5. All right, let's now get into it. So Creighton, they're led by Big East Defensive Player of the Year, Ryan Kirkbrenner. He's averaging 19.4 points per game, 8.8 rebounds per game, and 2.7 blocks per game. Steven Ashworth, 16.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, and 6.8 assists. Cannot let him open for three. And Jemiah Neal, 11.5 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game, and 4.4 assists per game. The X factor to me is Jackson McAndrew, the freshman shooter. He has to become a knockdown shooter today. Now for Louisville, Terrence Edwards Jr., 16.6 points per game, 4.1 rebounds. Chucky Hepburn, 16.2 points per game, 5.8 assists, and 2.5 steals per game. And John Hadley, I would normally put Rain Smith, but They say Rain Smith is ready to go today, but I'm not sure. It is the tournament, so I wouldn't be surprised if he pushing through whatever. Just like shout out Matt Rogers last night for American, tried to push through a knee injury, but ultimately cannot. But much respect and much love for that. John Hadley averaging 12.1 points per game, 7.3 rebounds per game. The X factor to me is going to be Noah Waterman. In this 3-point shooting 28.9% from the three. The reason why he's the X factor is, again, it's going to be him and Rain Smith. Rain Smith is really the X factor, but I'm not sure if he's playing. If he is playing, he is really going to be the X factor. They miss him tremendously. He is a guy that can get a bucket on his own. He doesn't have to be set up. He can step back, shoot the three. He can get a bucket. So he's really going to be the X factor against this Creighton Blue Jays team. But ultimately, I picked Creighton to win the game. Why? I don't know. It was tough. It took me a while to pick this game. Ultimately went with Creighton because I feel like Creighton offensively is just a little better. They have the rim protection and Ryan Kochbrenner. And I'm not saying Creighton is as good as Duke, but I feel like Creighton can play Louisville like Duke played them. They basically was double teaming Terrence Edwards, not allowing him to go off after he was going off. They kind of smothered him and made somebody else beat them. And they had the rim protection just like Creighton does to swat things going to the rim from other players. So I'm going with Creighton to win this one. In this game, I'm going with Creighton. Next, we have High Point versus Purdue. Purdue comes into this one as 7.5-point favorites. This game is 12:40 on True TV. Now, High Point, 13th seed versus a 4 seed, led by Keza Giffer, averaging 14.8 points per game. Demarion Williams averaging 13.5 points per game. And Bobby Pettiford, the name you might have heard, is probably familiar. He started his freshman year at Kansas, ended up at ECU, and now is currently at High Point. He averaged 18.9 points per game and 3.4 assists per game. Their X factor to me is going to be Juslin Bodo defensively against Trey Kaufman-Renn. He's going to have to do a really good job defensively, and he's going to have to rebound, averaging 8.4 boards per game. Now, for Purdue, they're led by Braden Smith, All-American, 16.1 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 8.7 assists, and 2.2 steals. Trey Kaufman-Renn averaging 20.2 points per game and 6.2 rebounds. And Fletcher Lawyer averaging 13.8 points per game, shooter on the perimeter. Now, that X factor to me is Miles Coleman and his ability to defend and knock down the three-pointer. He has a tendency of knocking down some big shots as well. So I think he's the X factor in this one, but I'm ultimately rolling with Purdue. Now, you know me. I've been saying it since the year started that they look a little funny in the light without a big, but I think they do get past this High Point team. Trey Kaufman-Renn is a problem for most bigs, no matter how big or how small. He is a problem going right. And Braden Smith just makes plays, man, whether it's offensively, defensively, setting somebody up. He just has a knack for making big plays. So I'm going to roll with Purdue in this one to win this game. And we're going to move on to Montana versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin is 16.5-point favorites in this one. Game is 1:30 on TNT. Wisconsin is a 3 seed. Montana is a 14 seed. Montana, they're led by Money Williams, averaging 13.3 points per game, 3.6 boards, and 1.1 steals per game. Malik Moore, 12.8 points per game, and Joe Pridgeon averaging 11.5 points per game, 6.9 rebounds per game. Their X factor to me is Tajon Sawyer, and he's going to be battling down low with Stephen Crawl and Nolan Winter when he's in the game. Dealing with that length that Wisconsin has is going to be tough. To me, for Wisconsin, they're led by John Tunji. I believe he's an All-American, averaging 19.2 points per game and 5.3 rebounds per game. Stephen Crawl averaging 9.6 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, and John Blackwell averaging 15.5 points per game and 5.1 rebounds per game. Now, my X factor for them has been Max Klesman. My reasoning is they play better with Max Klesman. They should have won the Big Ten tournament title, in my opinion. Just could not buy a basket. Max Klesman and John Tunji, to be specific. They both cannot buy a basket. John Tunji's only basket was a dunk. But if Max Klesman gets it going for three, Wisconsin is tough to stop. They have the defense. They have the length. John Tunji is a guy that can go. He can score. So if Klesman is on, Wisconsin's tough to stop. So I'm picking Max Klesman as my X factor, and I'm also going Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin has a better shooting night than they displayed last Sunday. John Tunji, again, a guy that's going to be tough to stop. Him and John Blackwell, both guys tough to stop. But I think the length overall with Wisconsin is going to be a little too much for Montana to handle. Give me Wisconsin Badgers in this one. And next, we go to SIU Edwardsville versus Houston. 16 versus a 1 seed. Houston's 28.5-point favorites here. The game is 2 o'clock on TBS. Now for Houston, not for Houston. For SIU Edwardsville, they're led by Rashawn Taylor, averaging 19.3 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 2 steals. Brian Taylor averaging 12 points per game and 4.1 rebounds. Ring Malith averaging 11.5 points per game and 7.2 rebounds per game. And X factor to me is Kyle Thomas because he has to battle with Jawan Roberts and if he's healthy, Jawan Roberts if healthy has to deal with him and Javier Francis. Those two guys are a problem down low, even though they're kind of undersized. They're still tough to handle down low. Houston, led by LJ Cryer, averaging 15.2 points per game. Jawan Roberts, if healthy, 10.8 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, and 1 steal. And Emmanuel Sharp, the knockdown shooter, averaging 12.6 points per game, 1.4 steals per game. Now, that X factor to me is Milos Uzan. If you remember, I said he's one of the forgotten scorers of this team. He can actually score on his own. He doesn't need to be set up as well. He can score in the mid-range. He's like a 3-level scorer. He can get to the cup and score in the mid-range, hit the 3 ball. So he's the X factor in this one to me. His scoring ability, averaging 11.5 points per game, will be huge for the Cougars, as I'm obviously picking the Cougars. If you remember yesterday's episode, I picked the Cougars to win the national championship. So obviously they're not a first-round exit. I got a comment. We'll move on to Alabama State. Shout out my boy Teddy. Said, "Year was good, Teddy. Trying to get this round of 64, man." NIT did me wonders, bro. When my record is updated, my NIT record is 14-2. So 9-0 last night. I'm so mad Texas blew the parlay, bro. Next, we got 16th seed Alabama State versus Auburn, 1 seed. Alabama State won the round of 68 game against St. Francis, Pennsylvania. Tough game there. Crazy finish. Full court pass, tipped, almost stolen, leads to a layup. They're going against the 1 seed Auburn Tigers, 32.5 point favorites, which is a big point spread. This is a crazy point spread. The game is 250 on CBS. Now, if you remember, Alabama State's guard letting not too much size on that team, led by C.J. Hines, averaging 14.4 points per game, 1 point steal per game. Amar Knox, averaging 14.3 points per game and 1.7 steals. And T.J. Matlock, averaging 12.6 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. Now, that X factor to me is the same guy's last game. It's going to be just Steven Walker, started last game. He's going to be tough. He got to stay out of foul trouble like he did last game. I think he only had 1 foul. He's going to be dealing with Janai Broome and Dylan Caldwell, 2 extraordinary bigs. One, Janai Broome is just an all-around extraordinary big. Dylan Caldwell is more of an activity guy, very good defender. He's going to have to deal with them both. Now, for Auburn, they're led by Janai Broome, obviously, National Player of the Year, contender, All-American, SEC Player of the Year, all the awards you can think of. 18.9 points per game, 10.6 rebounds per game, 2.3 blocks per game. Chad Baker-Mazara, averaging 12.6 points per game, 1.2 steals per game. It's a Todd Pettiford, the freshman, averaging 11 points per game. Now, the X factor to me is, like I said, Dylan Caldwell, really good defensively, activity guy. His shot blocking ability is going to be the X factor. And this one to me, he's averaging 1.5 blocks per game. Like I said, there's a guard-led Alabama State team, so they want to take you on the dribble. They want to get to the cup. Dylan Caldwell's shot blocking ability will be huge, just swatting them shots away from the rim. Now, I'm obviously rolling with Auburn to win this game because they have the size, they have the length, the athleticism over Alabama State. I don't think anybody thinks this game would be close, but yeah, we're rolling Auburn in this one. Next, we have McNeese, 12 seed McNeese versus 5 seed Clemson. Shout out Clemson coach Brad. I think it's Brand Bonwell. He just signed a 5-year extension, so shout out to him. Will Wade, after the tournament, will be moving on to NC State, so shout out to him for that. McNeese, they're 12 seed going against the Clemson 5 seed, 7.5 point favorites for Clemson. The game is 3:15 on True TV. Say tune in. McNeese is led by Javon Garcia, averaging 12.9 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, and 1.6 steals. Christian Shoemate averaging 10.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, 1.3 blocks. And DJ Richards averaging 10.1 points per game and 1.1 steals per game. Now, the X factor to me, and I'm going to go with Brandon Murray. Brandon Murray, he's a well-traveled college player, started at LSU with Will Wade, now with Will Wade at McNeese. Brandon Murray, in my opinion, is going to be huge. His ability to score, to get to the rim, averaging 7.1 points per game. I think he's going to be the X factor. While Clemson is led by Chase Hunter, averaging 16.4 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 1.4 steals. Ian Shefflin averaging 12.8 points per game and 9.4 points per game. And Jaden Zachary averaging 11.3 points per game, 2.1 steals per game, the transfer from Boston College. Their X factor to me is Chauncey Wiggins. He's scoring around the rim and rebounding, averaging 8.3 points per game and 3 boards per game. He's going to be huge, cutting to the basket, finishing layups around the rim. He'll be big for Clemson. But I think I'm rolling with McNeese, man. I think I'm rolling with McNeese. Clemson, while being a really good team, they have a ability to allow teams to be in the game. And Clemson was also a team that was really good at home. No home games here in the tournament, all neutral sites. McNeese is a team that can get up and down. They can run the floor. I think McNeese pulls off the upset here in this 12-5 seed matchup. Give me McNeese and Will Wade to win the game. Oh, yeah. Shout out. I forgot the manager name, bro, but shout him out, man. He began love on social media. He's definitely began love, so shout out to him. But we're going to move on to VCU, BYU. 11 seed VCU versus 6 seed BYU. VCU, led by Max Shulga, averaging 15.1 points per game. Points per game. I don't know what my computer was just doing. 5.9 rebounds per game and 4 assists per game, 1.8 steals per game. Joe Bamisil averaging 15.1 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, and 1.1 steals per game as well. And Zeb Jackson averaging 10.4 points per game, 3.7 rebounds per game, and 1.1 steals. The X factor in this one to me is Jack Clark and his activity and his rebounding, averaging 6.9 rebounds per game. It's going to be huge against a BYU team that they can rebound the ball as well with Keita and Traore. So that'll be huge. BYU is led by Richie Saunders, 16 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, and 1.2 steals. Igor Demon, averaging 10.3 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, 5.4 assists, and 1.2 steals. And Fusini Traore, averaging 8.6 points per game and 5.3 rebounds. Their X factor in this one to me is Moab Mag and his perimeter defense because VCU, they love to get the 3-ball up. Max Shulga loves to shoot the 3-ball. Joe Bamisil loves to shoot the 3-ball. They love to get the 3-ball up. They do play defense as well, but they love to chuck that 3. So he's going to be the X factor in this one. Now, this game took some back and forth. And I know last year 11 seeds was 3-1 against 6 seeds, Taking BYU. BYU is one of the hotter teams, too. Before losing to, I believe, Houston, which, I mean, it's Houston, bro. They lost to Houston in the Big 12 championship semis. They were on like an 8-9 game win streak. I mean, that's crazy. So I think they beat VCU. VCU is a really tough team, really can lock in defensively. But I think BYU and their ability to share the ball and get good shots, I think is going to be tough for VCU to stop. Give me BYU in this one. Next, we have Georgia versus Gonzaga. Georgia, I don't even remember the last time Georgia been in the tournament. It's been a minute, so shout out to them for that. They're taking on I have Georgia versus Georgia. Oh my God. They're taking on Gonzaga, which Gonzaga is like a regular in the tournament, led by Mark Few. There we go, fix that. Georgia, they're led by the freshman Asa Newell, averaging 15.3 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game, 1 steal and 1 block. Blue Kane, 9.6 points per game, 4.2 rebounds and 1.3 steals, the sophomore. And Silas Demery Jr. is 13.4 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and 1.7 steals. Now, their X factor to me is the transfer from Vanderbilt, Tyron Lawrence, and his scoring ability, whether it's off the bench or starting. He's averaging 8.5 points per game. It's going to be huge against the Gonzaga team that can score very well, and they also could defend a little bit. So it's going to be tough, and he's going to have to help pitch in. Now, for Gonzaga, they're led by Graham Ike, 17.1 points per game, 7.5 rebounds. Ryan Nembhard, 10.8 points per game, 9.8 assists, and 1.7 steals. Again, I believe that leads the country in assists. And Khalif Battle, 13.2 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.2 steals per game. And their X factor to me is Ben Gregg. Big man, Big Gregg. He's going to have to put some points in himself, grab some boards, averaging 9.4 points per game. He could score. He could score it at the top of the key, shoot a 3. He can also score it down low. I think he'll be the X factor in this one. But I love Georgia. My winner is Gonzaga, man. And I don't think it'll be particularly – I don't want to say it won't be close because I don't want to do that. But if Gonzaga wins by double digits, I wouldn't be surprised. I just think they have too much down low for Georgia. Now, albeit I know Asa Newell is a phenomenal freshman. He is. But he's going against two guys in Ike and Ben Gregg who got the experience. Ike is a handful to deal with, and he has the activity. So he's going to have his hands full, man. I'm rolling with Gonzaga. Next, we have Wofford, 15th ranked Wofford at Tennessee. Tennessee comes into this one's 18.5-point favorites. The game is 6:50 on TNT. I should be home hopefully by then. Wofford, they're led by Corey Tripp, averaging 14.3 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. Kyler Falwich, averaging 11.9 points per game and 9.4 rebounds. And Dylan Bailey, 11.3 points per game. The X factor to me is going to be Jeremy Lorenz, and he's going to have to help defend Igor Milicic and Felix Alpara, the left down low for the Volunteers. Now, Igor, he can step out, shoot a three as well. But Tennessee, they're led by Zakai Ziegler, 13.8 points per game, 7.3 assists, and 1.9 steals. Chaz Lanier, absolute bucket, averaging 17.7 points per game, 3.8 rebounds. And Igor Milicic, averaging 10 points per game, 6.9 rebounds per game. X factor to me is normally the X factor for me against Tennessee, and that's Jordan Gainey. He's also a bucket, averaging 11.4 points per game. He went crazy against Florida in the SEC Finals tournament. Just he needed some guys to go crazy with him. Just Florida, man. Florida's just a different animal right now. But I'm rolling with Tennessee. Tennessee, really, really good defensively. They're also a really good team offensively. Zakai Ziegler gets them in sets. He gets them in positions, sets them up in positions to make plays. They're tough out. Tennessee is a tough out. So look at Tennessee to make a kind of a run. Now, next, we have a game that it took me a lot to pick. I don't know. I still don't know if I like who I picked, to be honest. And that's 10th ranked Arkansas versus 7th ranked Kansas. Kansas is now 5.5 point favorites against Arkansas. The game is 7-10 on CBS. Arkansas led by Zonomir Ivicic, transfer from Kentucky, averaging 9.3 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Jonell Davis, 11.2 points per game and 1.5 steals per game. And DJ Wagner, averaging 11.9 points per game and 3.5 assists per game. Now, I think Boogie Flan might make a return. Maybe. I think that's who it was that might return for Arkansas. But the X factor to me is Trayvon Brazile, man. He's so good. I don't know what happened between the years he was playing with Anthony Black and now, but he's so good. His activity, he's an explosive athlete. I mean, really explosive. And I think he's the X factor in this one. Shot blocking, rebounding, averaging 1.1 blocks, 5.1 rebounds per game. He's going to be the X factor in this one. In Kansas, they're led by DeJuan Harris, averaging 9.2 points per game, 5.7 assists, and 1.4 steals. Hunter Dickinson averaging 17.6 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 1 steal, and 1.3 blocks. And KJ Adams averaging 9.2 points per game and 5 rebounds per game. I put that the X factor for them is going to be Rylan Griffin. His three-ball ability is going to be the X factor, shooting 33.6% from three. He's going to be huge because Arkansas can put up points in bunches, and they're going to need Rylan Griffin to hit shots to match Arkansas. I ultimately went with Arkansas. Why? One, mainly because Kansas is terrible on the road, like absolutely terrible. And two, Arkansas has been playing better of late. They've been playing real good of late. And I know Cal doesn't have the greatest of track records in the tournament, but that was at Kentucky. This is a little different, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. New school, new year. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm rolling with Arkansas, man, just because how terrible Kansas looks outside of Allen Fieldhouse. That's mainly the reason why I went away from Kansas. 2 comments and we'll move on. He said High Point is my upset today versus Purdue. I didn't pick it, but I see a lot of people talking about it. And then he says I like Arkansas tonight. I do too. I like Arkansas tonight as well. Next, we have 13th ranked Yale versus 4th seed Tennessee, Texas A&M. Now, a lot of people are also picking this upset. I can't tell you who I'm picking yet. But Yale is a good team. They're a really good team. And they're led by, and I always have problems pronouncing his last name, John Paulakidis. And I'll be having trouble pronouncing brother name. I'm so sorry. 19.2 points per game. Nick Townsend, 15.4 points per game, 7.2 rebounds per game, and 3.6 assists per game. And I noticed last time I was messing up Baz Mbang name up so badly. So I apologize. Baz Mbang averaging 13.4 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game, 5.6 assists, and 1.9 steals. Their X factor to me is going to be Alex Seliskar, scoring off the bench, averaging 7.6 points per game for the freshman. Now, Texas A&M, they're led by Wade Taylor, the 4th last ride. He's averaging 15.7 points per game, 4.3 assists, and 1.3 steals. Zoric Phelps, the transfer from SMU, averaging 14.1 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 1.7 steals per game. 5 rebounds, excuse me. That's a 5. And Henry Coleman averaging 7.8 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and 1 steal per game. Their X factor to me is Manny Obaseki, man. His ability to get downhill, he's tough to stop to get into the rim, and they're going to need it against a really good and really tough Yale team. Now, I went back and forth with this one as well, and I kind of wanted to pick the upset with Yale. What stopped me, one, remembering how well Wade Taylor and I blank on his name, Tyrese Radford played in that round of 32 game against Houston. And 2 is Wade Taylor's last ride, and I don't think he goes out in the first round. I don't think he allows Texas A&M to lose in the round of 64. And for that reason, I'm taking Texas A&M. It's just that simple. I wanted to go Yale. I really did, but I just don't think Wade Taylor is going like that. So I'm going with Texas A&M to get the win. Next, we have Drake versus Mizzou. Drake, 11 seed Drake versus 6 seed Mizzou. This game, Mizzou comes in at 6.5-point favorites. The game is 7:35 on True TV. Now, for Drake, led by Bennett Sturts, averaging 19.1 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 5.7 assists, and 2.2 steals. Cam Manyow averaging 7.2 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.3 steals. And Daniel Abreu averaging 10.4 points per game and 1 steal. Their X factor to me is Mason Mascari. His three-point shooting ability yet again, because Mizzou can score points, and they're going to need guys other than Bennett Sturts to score, and he's going to – I'm looking at you, Mason. So, yeah, he's going to be huge. Now from Mizzou, they're led by Caleb Grill, 13.7 points per game, 1.6 steals. Mark Mitchell, 14.1 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 1 steal. And Tamar Bates, 13.4 points per game and 1.3 steals. Now, the X factor for Mizzou is going to be Tony Perkins, in my opinion, with his ball handling ability. Tony Perkins is an extra ball handler for them. Drake is a really, really good defensive team, and I think Tony Perkins' ability is going to be huge for Mizzou. I ultimately went Drake. Now, again, I know what I said about Drake. Drake, really good defensive team, have problems scoring. But if you can control Mizzou's offense, play sound defense, get stops, I think Drake is good enough, especially with their non-con. They're proven in the non-con, beating Vandy and I think K-State. Yeah, with Vandy and K-State. They're proven in the non-con that they can get this job done. And I like this 11 seed upset here. I'm going with Drake. I'm rolling with Drake and Coach McCullough. Next, we have Utah State versus UCLA. UCLA coming into this one as 5.5-point favorites. The game is 9:25 on TNT. Utah State, they're led by Ian Martinez. 16.8 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game. Drake Allen, 7.2 points per game, 3.9 assists, and 1.2 steals. He decided to come off the bench this year. And Mason Falslev, averaging 14.9 points per game, 6.2 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 2.3 steals. Their X factor to me is Alben Gutierrez. He got to deal with Adam Mara and Tyler Bilodeau off the bench. Tyler Bilodeau starts. Adam Mara comes off the bench, excuse me. But he got to deal with that length that UCLA got. Now, UCLA is led by Tyler Bilodeau, averaging 13.6 points per game and 4.5 rebounds. Sebastian Mack, 10 points per game. And Sky Clark, 8 points per game, 1.3 steals. Now, my X factor for UCLA is actually Kobe Johnson, really good defender. I think he won a Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year with USC. Really good defender. And him defending Ian Martinez, which I think they're going to put him on Ian Martinez. They could also put him on Mason. But I think they're going to put him on Ian. It's going to be huge against Utah State. And I'm rolling with UCLA. UCLA got the size with Mara and Bilodeau. They got the defensive perimeter defense with Kobe Johnson. And I think Mack and Dylan Andrews, they can get buckets at when they can. But UCLA is structured really well. They're a really well-ran team. And I kind of weary away from Mountain West teams when they don't play at home. Like the Mountain West, albeit a really good conference this year, when the teams that you thought might win got played on the road, they either got blown out or they lost convincingly. So I'm going to roll with UCLA here. Next, we have 15 seed Omaha, Nebraska versus St. John's, the 2 seed Johnnies. 9:45 on CBS. Now, Omaha is led by Markel Sutton, who won I'm blanking. It's not the Big Sky. It's the Big Sky. Won the Big Sky Player of the Year. No, not Big Sky. Excuse me, Summit League. Summit League Player of the Year. Markel Sutton, averaging 19.1 points per game, 8 rebounds per game. J.J. White, 13.7 points per game, 4 assists per game. Tony Osborne, 12.2 points per game and 1 steal per game. And I don't have an X factor here because it's more of a talking point, because what I always say about St. John, it don't matter what you do in the first half, because that second half, St. John has the ability to turn up and leave you in the dust. And so my talking point for them is don't get too high on whatever success you have in the first half. If it's a blow in the first half, it is what it is. But if they let's just say they're up 2 at halftime, or it's tied, or it's really close, do not get too high, because St. John's in the second half, it's a different animal. So with that being said, it's St. John led by RJ Louise, 18.4 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, and 1.4 steals. Zuby Ejiofor, which was funny. They had a piece in one of the articles that said Zuby Dooby Doo. That was funny. 14.6 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and 1.4 blocks. And then Kadari Richmond, 12.7 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game, and 5.4 assists with 2.1 steals. Their X factor to me is Aaron Scott, the transfer from North Texas. He can score. His activity, he can shot block because of his athleticism. He's going to be a big one in this one to me. So I'm going to roll with Aaron Scott. But I'm ultimately going St. John's. St. John's is a team that can make a run. Now, it's unfortunate for me. I like St. John, but they eventually run into Texas Tech, and I like Texas Tech a little more. But St. John's is a team that can make a run. They actually could beat Texas Tech. It's not like Texas Tech is going to make me want to stomp them. Like, they could beat Texas Tech. I think St. John is serious. I think they can make a run, and I think if they get past Texas Tech, the sky's the limit. Next, this game took me to the wire to pick. 12 seed UC San Diego versus 5 seed Michigan. Michigan comes to this one as a 2.5-point favorite. This game is 10 o'clock on TBS. Now, UC San Diego, 31 team, first year eligible, becoming in to play in a tournament. Big West champs, regular season and tournament. I think they won the regular season last year. I can't remember if they participated in the tournament or not, but I don't think they did. Or maybe they did and won it. I don't remember. But this team has been good for the past 2 years. They're led by Aniwa Jones, averaging 19.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.3 steals. Tyler McGee averaging 16.4 points per game, 3.9 rebounds per game. Hayden Gray averaging 11.2 points per game, 3.2 steals per game. The X factor to me, I got two, Norton Capich and Maximo Milovic, because they got to defend that length of Michigan with Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden, both 7-footers. So it's going to be tough for them defensively. Next, for Michigan, we got Vlad Golden, averaging 16.7 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game, and 1.4 blocks. A guy with Michigan offense is sputtering they can go to. Trey Donaldson, averaging 11.6 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 4.2 assists, 1.1 steals. Danny Wolf, averaging 13.1 points per game, 9.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.3 blocks. The X factor to me is Roddy Gale Jr. and his ability to get to the cup and scoring at the basket. If he gets going, if he's locked in, if he's focused, I think Michigan could be a tough out. It pains me to say this because, as you can see, I'm wearing a Michigan State shirt. Well, I am picking Michigan to beat UC San Diego in a close one. My deciding factor was really Vlad Golden and that size that he has. And he's really good around the rim. He can knock down free throws. He's a calming force for Michigan when things sputter out of control. And I think that doesn't help UC San Diego. UC San Diego, a really good team, can score. They can deal with length, but I think Michigan is just a little too much for UC San Diego, and they advance to the next round. Then we have UNC Wilmington versus Texas Tech, 14 versus 3 seed. Game is 10-10 on 2TV. Texas Tech is 14.5-point favorites. Excuse me. UNC Wilmington, led by Donovan Newby, 14.6 points per game, 3.5 assists, and 1.2 steals. Kamari McGriff averaging 11.6 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and 1.2 blocks. And Bo Montgomery averaging 9.1 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game. X Factor, Harlan Obia, defense on JT Toppin. He's a 7-footer. His defense on JT Toppin will be huge. Now, JT Toppin is double 7-footers in the Big 12. Still won Big 12 Player of the Year. So it's going to be tough. Texas Tech, led by Elijah Hawkins, averaged 9.1 points per game, 6.4 assists, and 1.6 steals. JT Toppin, 18.1 points per game, 9.2 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks. Again, Big 12 Player of the Year. And Darion Williams, him and Chance McMillan should be back from what I saw, averaging 14.3 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.2 steals. Now, my X factor is Federico. One, just in case JT Toppin gets in foul trouble, because sometimes that does happen. And two, his rim protection. He is actually a pretty good athlete for 7 feet. He can actually move. Good at rim. He's good around the rim. Defensively, he's a lot that I don't want to say he's all you can ask for, but he does a lot. So he's my X factor off the bench. And obviously, I'm rolling with Texas Tech. As you just heard, I love Texas Tech a lot. I love the guard play. I love Christian Anderson. He's a fearless freshman. Kevin Overton would have been my second X factor if he's knocking down shots. Texas Tech is tough to beat. But I'm rolling with Texas Tech, man. I'm rolling with them defensively to clamp down on UNC Wilmington, score a bunch of points, and get out of this around the 64. And that is the last game for Thursday. So please, if you're off, cherish it. Last year I was hurt, so I had time to watch all the games. This year I'm at work. I'm actually training today, so I don't know how much of these games I'm gonna watch. But y'all, if you have a chance, lock in. I will be back tomorrow to talk about the round of 64 games tomorrow, including my Michigan State Spartans. So shout out to them as they take on Bryant tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Oh my God, I'm going to have to stay up to watch that. But enjoy the rest of y'all day. I'm gone. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.